Hiya, heavenly lemon dessert. Summer's not quite over in my kitchen. I got this recipe from my sweet Amish friend Christine, and let me tell you, it lives up to its name because it is a little bit of heaven. Welcome back to the kitchen with Tabby. Let's get cooking. All right, friends, let's get this heavenly lemon dessert put together. I'm really excited about this recipe. I told you earlier my Amish friend gave it to me, and she says it is the best lemon dessert you will ever eat. It's kind of like a lemon bar, but not. So it's got a crust on the bottom, kind of like a lemon bar does, but the topping is nothing like a lemon bar, or the filling, I guess I should say. So let's get it going. So I've got my 1 cup of butter melted here in my bowl, and I'm going to add to that a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And to that, we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So there's one. I already got one measured out to save a little bit of time. Let's mix this around in here. My bowl is still a little bit warm because I melted my butter in the oven while my oven was preheating. So let's get our other cup of flour in here. Okay, let's give that a good mix. I'm going to put my oven mitt back on to hold that bowl with. This is just going to make kind of a dough, and we're just going to press it right into the bottom of our 9x13 pan. And I am not greasing the pan because there's enough butter in here that I don't think it's going to need it. All right, come over here with me. We'll put it in the pan. All right, let's get this out in our pan. I'm just going to do it in some little chunks so that we can spread it out. No sugar or anything in this little cookie dough. I think it's going to be sweet enough when we get that filling made. Now, I've had these before because she's made them for me before, but this is the first time I've made them. I got them out of their cookbook, their family cookbook. I think I'm going to use my fingers, guys. I think it's going to be easier with my fingers. My hands are clean. Anyway, her family cookbook, they made a cookbook, and I'll show it to you in a minute, but their family is known as 9-finger. And the story behind that is kind of funny. I think it's her great-grandfather or her grandfather. I can't remember. I'll have to look at the story again and tell you. All right, so there is our crust. And we are going to put this in a preheated 350-degree oven for 25 minutes. And I'm going to get this in the oven, and then I'm going to read you the little story about this cookbook. Hang on. All right, so this little cookbook is called 9-Finger Favorites. And the story behind the 9-finger, that was the nickname of her grandfather. So here's the story behind it. It says, a brief history of how the name 9-Finger started when Jake Schwartz was 11 years old. They were chopping corn fodder in some kind of chopping machine. This machine got plugged up, and they had him clean it out, but he got his finger too close to the knife, and it took his finger off. Therefore, he was called 9-Finger Jake. All his children were called 9-Fingers, including Grandpa Amos Schwartz. Okay, so it was her great-grandfather, Jake, because her grandfather is Amos. So all of his descendants carry the name 9-Finger as a nickname going from one generation to the next. Jacob Schwartz died in 1951. His youngest son, Amos, died in 2010. His widow, Grandma Schwartz. So this was Amos's wife that wrote this little note in front of the cookbook, and I thought it was so sweet. So when they shared this cookbook with me, I asked Christine, what is the one recipe in here that you just don't want to miss? And she said, the heavenly lemon dessert. You want to make that. So that's what we are making. So anyway, in here it's called lemon lush bars, but she said it should be called heavenly lemon dessert. So that's what we're going to call it. So, all right, 25 minutes. When that's done, I'll come back. We have to let that cookie cool completely before we go to the next step. So when I come back, I'll have the cookie out and it'll be cooled, and then we'll go on to the next step and make our filling. There's a few steps to this recipe, but she promises me it's worth it, and I can promise you it's worth it because, like I said, I've had it. It's delicious. I think you guys are going to love it. So, all right, about 25 minutes plus cooling time, and I'll be right back, but about a half a second for you. Hang tight. All right, there's our cookie base. It is completely cool. So we are going to go to the next step. Now in my bowl here, I have a cup of sugar, and I'm going to add 16 ounces of cream cheese. Now I'm using the whipped cream cheese. You can use 2 8-ounce blocks of cream cheese that are softened if you want. I'm just going to use this whipped because I think it will go a lot quicker and easier. So we're going to get these in here. All right, I'm just going to blend this cream cheese with the sugar until that sugar is all nice and dissolved and incorporated really well. So let's get to it. Now we're going to take this and pour it right over our cookie. I'm just doing it right down the middle, and then I'll spread it out. You do not want to leave any of this goodness in here, though. So we're just going to spread this out over the cookie. That cookie is pretty tender, so you want to be gentle with it. It's a very soft, buttery cookie, so just want to be careful that you don't lift the edges if you can help it. I lifted just a little bit here on the corner, but it'll be fine. Okay, nice even layer there. Now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator while we make the next layer. All right, our next step now, we've got 1 cup of milk in my saucepan here, and I'm heating that up over medium heat. We want that to come to a full boil. So while that's heating up, in my bowl here, I have 3 eggs, and I've already beaten them just a little bit. And I'm gonna add to that some pure lemon extract, 1/2 teaspoon. This is a 1/4 teaspoon, so I'm gonna use 2 of these. So there's 1, 2. And to that, we're going to add 1/3 cup of fresh squeezed lemon juice. We're just going to mix that in. Okay, now we're going to put in 3 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch. I don't know how heaping is heaping, but I'm doing about like that. All right, so got that in. Cornstarch is kind of like powdered sugar. It will absolutely make a mess. But that's okay. I'm just going to mix that cornstarch in there. Just want to make sure you get as many of those little lumps out as you can. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Now my little scoop in here is about 1/4 cup. So I'm going to do 4 of these plus just a little bit. And that should get me right at a cup. It might be just a hair under, but that's all right. So there's 4 and a little bit. Now we're going to mix that in. All right, and then the last thing that's going in here is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm just going to do a pinch. That salt is just going to enhance all of those delicious flavors. Let's clean up our mess a little bit while we're waiting on that milk to come to a boil. Now, normally I would say temper your eggs by bringing a little bit of that hot milk over to your eggs, but the recipe does not say to do that. So I'm going to do it like she says to do it. So that milk is coming, it's starting to warm up now. I'm going to bring you over here a little bit closer with me. I'm going to bring our cookbook with us so I don't mess anything up. And it says to use a wire whisk. I don't know what the purpose is for that or the reason behind it, but I am going to use my wire whisk. I usually use my, nope, I think it's in the sink. I usually use my plastic Tupperware whisk that I love so much because it's a little quieter, but we're going to stick with the wire since that's what she says to use. My milk is starting to steam really nice now. And it says to heat that milk to boiling and to pour this into the boiling milk. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to slowly pour this in when it starts to boil. And we're just going to whisk it continually until it comes to a really nice thick mixture. I love the smell of steamed milk. Do you like that? I really do. I don't know, there's just something about the smell of steamed milk. It reminds me of pudding. I just love it. My milk is starting to boil, so I'm going to start slowly pouring this in and just really give it a good whisk the whole time. And I'm going to take my time pouring this in too. Now remember, I've got that cookie in the refrigerator with the cream cheese topping, so that's staying nice and cold in the refrigerator. All right. Get all of that goodness out of there. Now we're just going to whisk this. I'm going to keep my heat on medium high. It's about 6.5. And I'm just going to keep whisking it until it gets nice and thick. Let's see if I can do this left-handed. It's probably going to take it a few minutes to really come back up to heat and come to a nice thickness, probably more like that thick boil that a pudding does. And you don't want to stop stirring it. It says to keep stirring it. All right, I'm going to keep stirring this, and when it's nice and thick and we're ready to take it to the next step, I'll come back and we'll do it together. Hang tight. All right, guys, I think we are good. It is getting really nice and thick. You can see that there. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off the heat, and I'm going to add my half a stick of butter. And we're just going to stir that around until that butter is all melted and incorporated. That didn't take too long, maybe 4 or 5 minutes for it to come up to a nice thick rolling boil there. Boy, this butter is really smoothing it out. I did not expect that. That's pretty cool. That is a nice lemon pudding right there. The butter is completely melted in there now. Now what we have to do is let this completely cool. So we're going to just let it sit here and just let it cool off. And when it is completely cool, I'll come back. We've got one more ingredient to throw in here. It's going to be a little bit of a surprise ingredient, I think. It was a surprise to me. And then once we're done with that, then we'll go ahead and put it on top of our cream cheese mixture on top of that cookie. So as soon as this is completely cool, I'll come back and we'll take it to that next step. Hang tight. All right, let's get this heavenly lemon dessert finished up. So our lemon pudding is completely cooled. We're going to add to it 8 ounces of sour cream. So we're going to put that in there. We're going to give this a really good mix to get it all really well combined. I never would have thought to put sour cream in here, but I'm going to follow the process. I'm going to trust her because I know it was delicious the last time I ate it. I just had no idea that it had sour cream in it. I have my Cool Whip here, and I also grated the zest off of a couple of those lemons, so I'm going to sprinkle that on the top just for garnish. The recipe didn't call for that, but I thought it would be pretty just to have that on there. That looks like that's well combined. I don't see any streaks of sour cream in there. Such a pretty color. Isn't it beautiful? All right, let's get this poured out over our cream cheese mixture. Gonna spread that out. Seal in that cream cheese. I can't tell you how many desserts this pan has held. This was my mother-in-law's famous cake pan. This is the only cake pan she ever used for her oatmeal cake. I think I've told you guys before, if I ever made oatmeal cake in any other pan, I'm not sure my family would eat it. I think they're pretty confident that it only tastes good out of this pan. All right. Now we're going to put our Cool Whip on top. And this is obviously thawed. You want your Cool Whip thawed. This is a 16-ounce container, but I'm probably only going to use about half of it. And of course, you can put as much as you want on yours. But I'm thinking about a half of a container should be plenty. You don't want so much Cool Whip that you can't taste the rest of the goodness in there. So this was a few steps to make, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. That looks pretty. All right, there you go. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this lemon zest on top. Like I said, this is just for show. There it is. Isn't that beautiful? It smells so good with that lemon zest on top. All right, let's get a little piece and give it a taste. I'm gonna get a plate and a spoon. I'll be right back. All right, friends, I got a little piece here. Let's give it a taste. I'm so excited. It smells so good. If you love lemon, I think you're really gonna love this. Look at that. You can see that nice golden cookie on the bottom. And I think that's gonna be a really good contrast to the sweetness on top. All right, thank you, Lord, for this food. Amen. Oh my word. That is the most delicate shortbread cookie. Oh my gosh, you guys, mixed with the sweetness and the tartness of the lemon. It is truly a little bit of heaven. I sure hope you give this heavenly lemon dessert a try. I'm telling you right now, it will knock your socks off and your family is going to love it. If you've got a lemon lover in your family, this is probably going to be what they ask for their birthday. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming into the kitchen with me, hanging out for a little bit and just making some fun dessert with me. I sure hope you guys make it. And when you do, make sure you post a picture, tag me in it so I can see what's cooking in your kitchen. Don't forget, you can pre-order my cookbook, Pure and Sweet Recipes in the Kitchen with Tabby. It is at the printer now. I should have it by the end of this month. I'm so excited. All of you who have pre-ordered already, thank you so much. I will get those signed and sent right back out to you. You'll have it in plenty of time for Christmas, for those holiday stocking stuffers. I think it's going to be your go-to cookbook for your holiday cooking and baking and candy making. I really do. All right, guys, remember Christ is the unseen guest at every dinner table, the silent listener at every conversation. Just make sure those words coming out of your mouth are pure and sweet like honey, that you're lifting each other up, using words that speak love over each other, and just shining your light bright, because that's what we're called to do. Remember, you'll find this recipe, all my other recipes, on my website. Credit on this one going to Christine from the 9-Finger Cookbook. And if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, there will be a link to the recipe in the comments right underneath the post. On YouTube, you know where it's at in the full description. So click on more right underneath this video and you'll see a full description open up and there will be a link to the recipe there. It'll take you right to my website where you can watch the video again, print the recipe out, have it for always. All right, guys, I love you so very much. Please remember that. God loves you even more than I do. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.